That night, I had just finished socializing. Before my feet even stepped into the living room, I heard lowered voices coming from the bedroom. Lena Parker's voice was neither loud nor soft, but every word was laced with barbs. "You're so beautiful. How did you end up with a man like Ethan Johnson? Always in suits and ties, but he doesn't do anything. Lazy, won't even pour a glass of water for himself. Someone like you being with him is just lowering yourself." I stood at the end of the hallway, my fingers tightening silently. I smiled slightly, leaned against the wall, and stayed quiet. Sophia Taylor's tone was a little wronged. He wasn't like this before. Right after we got married, he was quite considerate. Lena Parker snorted coldly. That was an act. What's he like now? You call him to go shopping, and he says, in a meeting, then has his assistant go with you, spend a few thousand and thinks that's enough? Yeah. Sophia Taylor sighed. My mother's health has never been good, and I don't have much workability. I rely entirely on him. But now he doesn't even have time to have a meal with me. It's because you've pampered him too much. Lena Parker's voice shifted with a bit of agitation. Sophia, wake up. He doesn't care about you at all. If you don't divorce him, I'll look down on you. A man like that isn't even fit for a dog. I glanced down at my phone. A message had just popped up. Mr. Johnson, the financial document from the company that just signed have been sent to your email. 70 million USD has been confirmed as received. I tapped read, casually draped my suit over the sofa, untied my tie, and slowly walked toward the bedroom. The door wasn't closed. I stood in the doorway, my gaze falling on the two figures on the sofa. Keep going, why did you stop? My voice was cold, but I couldn't hide the sarcasm in my eyes. Sophia Taylor snapped her head around, her face stiffening. Lena Parker was stunned for half a second, then smiled. Oh, you're back? We were just chatting, girls gossip. I ignored her, walked to the coffee table, took a document from my bag, and placed it on the table. Sophia Taylor stared at me. What is this? Divorce agreement. I looked up at her. If you think I'm good for nothing, then don't force yourself. Sophia Taylor's pupils flickered. You mean it? Didn't you say we were incompatible? I said coldly. I'm letting you go. Lena Parker panicked. Hey. Ethan Johnson, you can't be serious, can you? You and Sophia have been together for so many years. Feelings? I sneered, looking at Sophia Taylor. You've been married 3 years and haven't done a day's housework. You said you wanted to start a business. I gave you the money. You didn't want to have children. I respected that. You said your mother was hospitalized and needed money. I had my assistant wire $200,000 to you every month. My gaze was sharp, my words like knives, striking out syllable by syllable. And now you tell me I've been out carousing? That I've made you suffer. Sophia Taylor's lips trembled. She couldn't speak. Lena Parker pretended to be clueless beside me. Oh my, could there be some misunderstanding here? Shut up. My voice suddenly dropped, cutting her off. You meddling in someone else's marriage. You're quite good at it. I threw the pen onto the table, signed. With you gone, I'll be relieved too. The air was silent for a full 5 seconds. Sophia Taylor looked at me, and those eyes that used to be full of dependence suddenly went empty. Her voice trembled slightly. You've changed. I stared at her. No, I've always been like this. It's you who is swayed and confused by a few words. She gritted her teeth, grabbed the pen, and signed her name while crying. It's signed. She tossed the agreement back in front of me and said stubbornly, You're right, we're not suitable for each other. I nodded. Starting tomorrow, your cards will be frozen. The nanny, the driver, everyday expenses, all terminated. I'll also return your mother's hospital account for you to manage yourself. You, what do you mean? I looked at her. Didn't you say I wasn't worthy of you? Then let's see. Once you're away from me, how will you be worthy of the life you want? I didn't wait for her to speak. I turned and left, not looking back. Outside, the night wind hit my face, cool and sobering. The assistant's car was already parked at the door. He got out to open the door for me. Mr. Johnson, the house has been arranged, with a private elevator and fully secured. I nodded and got into the car. The villa outside the window grew farther and farther away. That place had once been the haven I built for her brick by brick. Now, it was nothing but an empty shell. Another message popped up on my phone. The fund that couldn't be negotiated with tonight has proactively increased its offer and resubmitted the letter of intent. I sneered. What do they think I am? A good-for-nothing who lazes around all day and lives off his wife? Then let them see how well I live without her. No, only after she leaves me will she realize the person she lost was the one she could never afford to miss in her life. The morning after the divorce, I slept more soundly than ever. No Sophia Taylor's cold shoulder glare. No Lena Parker's passive-aggressive remarks. I moved into the penthouse alone, 270 degrees, floor-to-ceiling windows. Below, the Los Angeles River view and a helipad. My assistant delivered breakfast on schedule and asked, "Mr. Johnson, regarding Ms. Taylor, do you want to continue providing her with a living allowance?" I took a calm sip of black coffee. Stop it. Didn't she complain about me? Let her taste the price of freedom. Understood. He paused. What about her mother's treatment bill at the private hospital? Over $300,000 a month. What do you think? I put down the cup, my tone without the slightest hesitation. From today on, she has to learn to live on her own. Around noon, Sophia Taylor finally realized something was wrong. She went downstairs in her pajamas, ready to go out, only to find the driver absent, the nanny off sick and not here, and even the Maybach that usually sat by the front gate gone. She opened her phone and tapped the housekeeper app. A single line of large text popped up. Account frozen, permissions revoked. She panicked instantly. At that moment, the phone rang. It was the hospital calling. "Miss Taylor, your mother's treatment payment for this month has been overdue for 3 days. According to regulations, we have to suspend the use of certain medications." Wait, Sophia Taylor jumped up in fright. "I'll take care of it right away, immediately." She ground her teeth and called me. It rang more than 10 times before I picked up. "Ethan Johnson, what do you mean? My mother is still in the hospital and you're cutting off the money." I put my phone on speaker and leisurely went through the documents. "Weren't you saying you didn't want to see me? Fine, I'll take my leave then. You never asked how much I wanted before. But since you signed the divorce papers, from now on we're strangers. You're not that kind of person." Her voice started to crack. "You said you'd always take care of me and my mother." I sneered coldly. "You said you loved me before too. And look how that turned out." She was at a loss for a second, then exploded. "You're just being petty and vindictive. You're nothing but a project manager. What are you putting on that big bad wolf act?" I lifted the corner of my mouth. "You think I'm just a project manager? Isn't that what you are?" I said nothing, hung up on her, and casually dialed another number. "Hello, Mr. Lee. A sum of capital has just become available. We're planning to restart that smart manufacturing part project we discussed before. Set the investment cap as you see fit." "Mr. Johnson." The person on the other end of the line was exuberant. "Should have said so sooner. Our group needs premium backers like you. Same old deal. You invest, we handle the execution." I lean back in my chair and lower my eyelids. That's right. Someone like Sophia Taylor, raised in a greenhouse, has never seen the world I truly live in. In the afternoon, I had just finished a business rendezvous when the front desk notified me. "A lady says she's your wife and wants to see you." "Ex-wife," I corrected. I didn't agree to meet her, but Sophia Taylor still barged in, clacking in high heels in the conference room, her eyes bloodshot. "Ethan Johnson, how far are you trying to push me?" I closed the contract in my hand and glanced at her. "You don't need security to check your identity when you enter this building." She froze for a moment, then realized this was a private company office building. You're the boss here?" "And several more buildings." I smiled faintly. Her expression changed from anger to shock. Her lips slightly parted, and at last there was a trace of regret in her eyes. I didn't give her a moment to recover. "Sophia Taylor, you were so decisive when you divorced. Now you regret it? Isn't that a bit late?" Her lips trembled. "Why did you never tell me you were this rich? When have you ever genuinely wanted to understand me?" I looked at her. "What you care about is whether my performance meets your friend's standards, not who I am." She said, "You have no ability?" I thought so too. She lowered her head and murmured, "But you really never spent time with me, and you never took me to events." How was I supposed to know you had? You believe her and not me. That's your choice. By the way, I suddenly remembered something, took out my phone and played a voice message. It was the recording of Lena Parker speaking outside my door that day. "Leave. If you don't leave, I'll look down on you. A man like that isn't even worth dating, not even for a dog. If you had left sooner, you might have met a more capable man." Sophia Taylor's face turned pale in an instant. I said coldly, "I've already copied this recording a few times. One copy is for your mother, and one, you can decide what to do with the rest." "Ethan Johnson." She lost control and shouted my name. "Fine, take revenge on me, but why drag my mother into this?" I put my phone away, my expression calm as still water. You'll never be able to tell who's truly helping you and who's digging a pit for you to fall into. Today, I'll make you understand what irreparable regret is. Sophia Taylor's eyes were rimmed red. She took a step back after step, still repeating, "You've changed. You've really changed." I didn't say anything more, just lowered my head and continued signing the documents in front of me. She left, her footsteps all over the place. Sophia Taylor hadn't expected that only 3 days after the divorce, life would already be driving her nearly crazy. She tried asking Lena Parker for help, but Lena's attitude was completely different from before. "You want money? I'm tight lately too. I just changed cars a couple of months ago, so there's not much left on my card. I remember you still have some luxury jewelry at home. You can sell a few pieces first to tide yourself over." Sophia Taylor stared at her intently. "Didn't you say before that as long as I divorced, you'd definitely help me?" Lena Parker pretended to smile impatiently. "I said that for your own good. Do you really think I can support you for the rest of your life?" "How could you? You've changed. Don't be so naive, Sophia. You're already divorced. Now you have to rely on yourself." Sophia Taylor stood frozen, watching her once close friend become suddenly unfamiliar, as if an ice block had been stuffed into her heart. That afternoon, she went to several luxury stores trying to return purchases, only to be told all the purchase records were under Ethan Johnson's name and she had no authority to handle them. Her credit cards wouldn't work, her phone's ride-hailing was limited. Holding a nearly dead phone in one hand, she stood on the street, not knowing where to go. She thought about going to Ethan Johnson, but she knew he wouldn't give her another chance. The hospital called and said today was the last day of the grace period. If she didn't make up the $300,000 payment, all care services would be suspended. She gritted her teeth and forced herself to go to the bank, only to find that the living allowance that used to arrive monthly had long since been cut off. That day, she went from a wealthy wife to an ordinary person with only $300 left in her hand. That night, she returned to the rented room, collapsed on the sofa, tears falling drop by drop. Her phone suddenly popped up a notification. New power tycoon Johnson. Capital President Ethan Johnson guest on financial personality interview. Dozens of listed companies stand behind him. She reflexively tapped to open the video. On the screen, the man she knew better than anyone, wearing a black suit, looked composed with an imposing presence. The host smiled and said, "Mr. Johnson, people have always found you mysterious. Could you tell us how you got started?" "I began doing project investments in college. The first company I sold earned me $40 million, and since then it's snowballed to where I am now." "You're only 28 this year and already a leader in the industry. Truly enviable." In the video, Ethan Johnson smiled faintly, with a hint of sarcasm. "Envious? Not everyone can understand your true worth. Most people will only look at whether you accompany her to meals or give her gifts, and ignore that you've placed the whole world before her." Sophia Taylor's face went ashen, her whole body chilled. She finally realized what kind of man she had missed. Early the next morning, she went to the hospital and tried to persuade the doctor, but was politely refused. "We have regulations too. We hope you can find a way to raise the money as soon as possible." She stumbled out of the ward, only to find Lena Parker waiting for her outside. "Why are you here?" Lena Parker was dressed very elegantly, clearly not there to visit the sick. "I heard you've been having a rough time lately, so I came to check on you." Sophia Taylor had no mood for small talk. "What exactly do you want to say?" "My friend is investing in a real estate project and needs a female companion to attend some events. If you're willing to accompany him a few times, the pay won't be small." Sophia Taylor's pupils contracted. "You want me to accompany someone to schmooze?" Lena Parker laughed impatiently. "Don't play dumb, Sophia. You used to be a madam. Now you're just a poor woman. If you want to keep living in a nice place, be practical. Get lost." Sophia Taylor's voice trembled as she gripped the handbag strap hard. "You don't deserve to talk to me. Then who are you relying on now?" "Ethan Johnson." Lena Parker sneered. "You think he'll come back? Women like you are a dime a dozen. Look at who he is now. Do you deserve him?" Sophia Taylor raised her hand and slapped her hard. Lena Parker clutched her face, her expression turning cold. "Just you wait." Sophia Taylor turned and walked away, tears welling up. She went to the hospital steps, sat down, and didn't move. She opened her phone, tapped that video, and watched Ethan Johnson laugh confidently and composedly among the crowd, her chest feeling as if it had been cut by a knife. She began replaying their past life over and over. What time he got up every day, what time he came home, those few scattered words on WeChat. She had never looked at them seriously. Back then she thought he was being perfunctory. Now she understood that he was working himself to the bone outside to give her a world where she wouldn't have to look up and read people's faces. Now, she had lost him. That night, she mustered the courage and dialed Ethan Johnson. It rang once and then was hung up. She wasn't willing to give up, so she sent another message. Can we start over? A few seconds later, the message showed as read, but there was no reply for a long time. Sophia Taylor stared at the screen, waiting until 2 in the morning, tears blurring her vision. She didn't know that Ethan Johnson was at the other end of the penthouse, looking at the city lights at night, his phone muted and lying on the coffee table. He had seen through it all long ago and would never turn back. That night, I left the club. Just as I got into the car, my assistant handed me my phone and said, Sophia Taylor called 3 times again, all hung up, and she also sent messages on WeChat. I glanced at the phone. Can we start over? Just 10 short words, revealing belated grievance and unwillingness to accept it. I smiled. This message is far more ironic than her were not suitable. Block my number from all her platforms, I instructed. Yes. The assistant responded briskly. The car slowly drove toward my private apartment, night spreading over the surface of the Los Angeles River. My expression reflected in the window, pale as water. The next morning, I had just finished a conference call when I heard the doorbell ring. My assistant opened the door and glanced back at me with a strange look. Mr. Johnson, it's Ms. Taylor. She's kneeling at the door. I furrowed my brow. Who let her come up? The security stopped her. She just threw her bag and said she'd wait for you. I put down my pen, stood up, and walked to the door. The moment the door opened, I saw her sitting on the porch tiles, most of her makeup ruined, her eyes red and swollen, as if she hadn't slept all night. Ethan. Her voice trembled. She stood up as soon as she saw me. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I looked at her without saying a word. She gritted her teeth and stepped forward, like a child who had done something wrong. I'm so stupid. I shouldn't have listened to Lena. I shouldn't have doubted you. You've always been working hard for our family, and Now you realize? I sneered. She nodded vigorously. Yes, it's my selfishness. I always thought you didn't love me anymore, so you voluntarily signed the divorce papers without hesitation? She choked. I walked into the living room and said coldly, Sophia Taylor, feelings are not a game. You chose to give me up back then, and now you want to come back. Why should I accept that? She took a step closer, her eyes glistening with tears. If you're willing to give me one more chance, I can change anything. Really, I'll cook and clean. Won't be willful anymore. I know I was wrong. I looked down at her. This woman, who once sat arrogantly on a leather sofa, ordering the maid to wash the fruit and giving me cold looks for not coming home or accompanying her shopping. Now like a dog without support, she was kneeling on the ground with tears and snot all over her face. You've changed. She choked out. You've really changed. I bent down, my tone cruelly calm. I've never changed. It's just that your eyes are blind. You never understood me. Her tears fell drop by drop, crying like a child who had fallen apart. But I showed no mercy. Didn't you want freedom? I gave it to you. Didn't you say I'm not good enough for you? Now you tell me yourself. Am I or am I not? She suddenly grabbed my leg. I was wrong. Please give me one more chance. I won't listen to anyone anymore. I'll only listen to you, okay? I grabbed her arm and pulled her away, my movements brisk, without a trace of lingering. Sophia Taylor, from the moment you signed, there was nothing left between us. She froze, watching me turn and walk toward the elevator, then desperately rushed forward to grab me. I really can't live without you. I looked at her disheveled appearance and suddenly remembered that day when she sat beside Lena Parker, looking self-righteous and saying, we're not suitable for each other. As determined as she was then, she is that ridiculous now. Sophia Taylor, you don't deserve it. I shrugged off her hand and stepped into the elevator. The moment the door closed, I saw her collapse to the floor, crying her heart out. That evening, I attended an upscale cocktail party. The event was held at the most exclusive club in downtown Los Angeles, where only those with at least billions in assets in the circle were eligible to be invited. Mr. Johnson, long time no see. That smart logistics company you invested in recently is really on a roll. When are we teaming up again? Glasses clinked as I entertained various bosses, laughing and chatting. I'm not here to show off. I simply live in a way they'll never be able to reach. Sitting beside me was Nora Zhao, the investment goddess returned from country C, highly capable, sharp-eyed. She'd collaborated with me several times. Our chemistry was excellent. Your ex-wife seems to have been looking for you everywhere lately, she asked casually. Don't even mention the words ex-wife, I replied lightly. She laughed. Okay, I won't mention it. I raised my glass and gazed at the city's nightscape beyond the floor-to-ceiling window. Some people, once missed, are missed forever. And I had long since stopped waiting for her in the same place. That afternoon, my assistant pushed the door open and walked in, his expression grave. Mr. Johnson, we found some information regarding Lena Parker's background. I took the documents, flipped through a few pages, and a mocking smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. She really did hide it deep. Lena Parker, 3 years ago nominally established Triumph Culture, actually a shell company, but since last year it has been continuously receiving funds transferred from a real estate firm, Cloudrise Properties. My expression darkened. Cloudrise? The one that lost the land bid to us in the new district last year. Exactly. The assistant nodded. We suspect she was the piece the other side planted beside you. I closed the file. Keep watching her. I didn't move against her immediately. Instead, I set up one scheme after another behind the scenes. The next day, I deliberately had the secretary arrange a media meet and greet, inviting a group of financial reporters and several well-known investors from the circle, nominally to announce a new round of financing, but in fact, to get her to show her face. As I expected, Lena Parker, after learning the news, took the initiative to contact me. Ethan, long time no see. Why haven't you contacted me? She sounded casual, as if nothing had happened. I've had too many projects lately. There's a media event tomorrow. Want to come? Of course. Her voice brightened. I'm going to dress up really prettily. On the day of the event, Lena Parker wore a floor-length red gown, walked in sky-high heels, and carried a limited-edition luxury handbag to the venue, looking like a wealthy socialite. I deliberately had her sit in the front row of the VIP section, giving her plenty of respect under everyone's watchful eyes. When she sat down, she even smiled at me. That's more like it. An event this big, it wouldn't do to leave me out. I didn't answer. I only raised my hand and nodded toward the venue control room. 5 minutes later, the big screen moved into the project introduction segment, but the PPT suddenly jolted and switched to a new display. It was an audio clip. Lena Parker's voice was so clear it seemed to be right beside my ear. You see, that stupid woman Sophia is totally not worthy of him. She only knows shopping and eating every day. I'm the one who truly belongs by Ethan Johnson's side. If I push her a little more, sooner or later they'll break up. He's being cautious around me now. Ridiculous. He's a man. He must have feelings for me. When he leaves with nothing, it'll still be time for me to deal with him. The audience erupted in an uproar. Lena Parker's face went deathly pale. She sprang to her feet and screamed. Who released it? Who released it? Reporters all raised their phones to film her. Investors whispered among themselves, and a few even got up and walked out on the spot. I stood up slowly and said coolly, this was said personally by Miss Parker. I never authorized her to be involved in any business matters, and our private relationship had already ended. We asked everyone here today to clarify our company's circle of cooperation. External interference will not be tolerated. After saying that, I walked off the stage. The spotlight fell on Lena Parker's face, and she fled in a panic like a skinned fox. 2 days later, finance media pushed the story across the web. Johnson Capital's former scandal partner, Parker, accused of orchestrating relationships behind the scenes and attempting to cash out, publicly cut off by the firm. Alleged undercover corporate spy. Parker's funding sources exposed. Blacklisted in the industry. Parker's image completely collapses, multiple brands terminate contracts, social accounts wiped. Her fate has been completely overturned. And Sophia Taylor finally heard about all this from the hospital. That night she called my landline, her voice weak and urgent. Ethan, can you come over? I have something to tell you. I wasn't going to bother, but she said, it's about Lena Parker. I want to tell you something you don't know. I sneered. I know enough already. Can you let me finish? This is really important. I was silent for 2 seconds. 1 hour. Meet me at the hospital entrance. She was wearing an infirmary gown overcoat, standing under the dim streetlight, looking much thinner. Lena Parker has been scheming against you from the start. Her first words made me feel scornful. I was the fool then. I trusted the wrong person. You are indeed stupid. I cut her off. But not because she deceived you. It's because you never learned to tell what is real and what is fake. I know. She kept her head down, eyes reddening. But you don't know. She secretly added you on WeChat 2 years ago. She registered accounts under other people's names. She even tried to secretly photograph you entering and leaving hotels. She was determined to manipulate you. She succeeded. I know it's too late to say anything now. She raised her head, her voice hoarse. But I really didn't mean to harm you. I was just too foolish. I looked at her, silent for a long moment, then slowly uttered one sentence. You weren't wrong because you were foolish, but because you were blind, unwilling from the start to see the truth. She shook her head, as if wanting to argue, but found she had no way to begin. I turned to leave, and she called from behind. Did you ever love me? I paused mid-step. I loved her. And now? I answered softly. I don't hate her, and I don't love her anymore. The night wind blew. I got in the car. In the distance, she stood under the light with her arms folded, helpless like an abandoned child. But this was the path she chose herself. Back at the company, my assistant handed me a new draft for a collaboration. Mr. Johnson, this is the official cooperation document from that overseas AI company. It only needs your signature. I picked up the pen and signed my name, feeling a calm I had never known before. I turned and looked out the office window. One must be betrayed once to become completely awake. And I, from today on, will show no mercy. Sophia Taylor appeared in my sight, once again on a morning half a month later. I was in the company's reception area preparing to sign a cross-border acquisition agreement when my assistant suddenly walked in and whispered, Mr. Johnson, Sophia Taylor is downstairs. She says she wants to see you. I didn't look up. Let her up. The assistant hesitated for a moment. She says she wants to give you Lena Parker's recordings about the deeper details of the deal. I finally raised my head and looked at the assistant. Let her come up, but limit it to 5 minutes. When she entered, her face was pale, and her eyes showed a panic she could not even control herself. Ethan, I'm not here to make a scene. She explained as soon as she came in, I know you don't want to see me right now, but I can't not tell you about this. I leaned back on the sofa. My tone as cool as if I were interrogating a stranger. Speak. She took out her phone and played a recording. In the audio, Lena Parker's voice was even more explicit and venomous than the last clip. Sophia Taylor is worthless now. Divorced and unemployed, does she still expect Ethan Johnson to come back? Ridiculous. I already pushed her out. She was just a shield. Ethan Johnson protecting me? Too late. As soon as Ethan Johnson and those shareholders turn against each other, this company will be mine sooner or later. When the recording finished, I picked up my coffee and took a sip. Keep that part for yourself. It's unnecessary for me. Sophia Taylor flinched, her face instantly ashen. You don't care? I saw through her tricks a long time ago. I sneered coldly. You think I needed you to warn me? She lowered her head, staring at her clenched hands, her voice hoarse and almost inaudible. You knew all along, but still, you didn't warn me even once. I put down the cup, my gaze icy. I did warn you. You just never believed me. Back then, I was so foolish. Her eyes reddened. I thought, you had changed, grown distant and cold, always putting work first. I didn't realize you were the one quietly bearing everything. I didn't respond. I just watched her talk to herself with a calm expression. Do you know how much I regret it now? Every morning when I open my eyes, I keep thinking, why was I so trusting of her back then? Why? Why was I in such a hurry to get a divorce? I shouldn't have. Really, I shouldn't have. She suddenly rushed up and grabbed my hand, choking on her words. Can we start over? Even just once would be enough. I'll change. I'll be a better person. I will. Sophia Taylor. I cut her off, pulled my hand back, my gaze sharp. You think I could turn back? The speed you signed back then is exactly how clear it should be now. You can't go back. She froze in place. I continued. Before the divorce, you only saw yourself. You thought I was unambitious, not romantic, didn't understand you. You're right. I really didn't understand you. All I knew was to give you the best life, give you freedom, even open the most expensive medical account for your mother. But to you, none of that mattered. And you can be led around by the nose by Lena Parker in 3 words. Her tears fell, and she looked completely drained of strength. I'm just so afraid of being ignored by you. I want us to have a normal married life, to go out to eat, shop, talk, but you say nothing as if I'm unimportant. I always thought you didn't love me anymore. I was silent for a moment, my tone cold to the bone. Have you ever thought about why I work so hard? You never asked me. She was stunned. I'm afraid you'll feel ashamed. Afraid you won't have a good life. Afraid people will say you married an incapable man. I gave you everything I could. But when I was the busiest and most exhausted, you chose to turn away and leave. I'm not indebted to you. She cried uncontrollably. I know I was wrong. I really understand now. I stood up and looked down at her. I don't need you anymore. I don't love you either. She lifted her head. Did you ever love me? I did. I paused, looked in her eyes, and said each word deliberately. But you don't deserve that love. She broke down and knelt on the floor, covering her face as she cried. I didn't look at her again. I turned and walked out of the reception room. The moment the door closed, I felt nothing at all. The feelings I once had, the efforts I once made, the patience I once showed, all turned to ash the moment she said, "We're not right for each other." That very night, Lena Parker's net closing operation was officially set in motion. We submitted records of her illegal financial dealings with Cloud Rise Properties to the regulators, and in less than 24 hours, she was taken in by the police for questioning. And Sophia Taylor was thoroughly awakened from her dream. She lost her marriage, her friends, her respect. The most ironic part, only when she had nothing left did she finally see who was real and who was fake. A few days later, I was having tea at a private club when a friend at the next table mentioned, "I heard your ex-wife is looking for a job recently." I said nothing, only gave a faint smile. That person added, "She now has to support herself. I'm afraid she won't make it." I replied indifferently, "That's not my problem." At 6:30 in the morning, Los Angeles was still shrouded in a thin morning mist. I stood before the office floor-to-ceiling window, holding a cup of black coffee, watching the sun slowly rise along the skyline. A cross-border acquisition agreement had just been signed. As of today, 3 overseas subsidiaries have been added under my name, officially bridging assets between Asia and Europe and becoming, in name and fact, an international capital player. "Mr. Johnson, Miss Zhao has arrived." I turned around and saw Nora Zhao walk into the office, wearing a light camel business skirt suit, efficient and neat. She smiled as she handed over the documents. "Congratulations, the deal is officially completed." "You too." I took the papers and signed the last page. "Pleasure doing business with you." She hesitated for a moment, then suddenly asked, "You're not planning to look back this time?" I knew who she was asking about. I shook my head. "Some people are worth it. Some are a waste of time." Nora Zhao nodded, her expression relaxed. "Perfect timing. There's a closed gathering at Star Convergence Plaza tonight. Several heads of international investment banks will be there. You should show your face." "I'll go." She suddenly smiled. "You are truly the hardest man to get an appointment with in Los Angeles right now." I raised an eyebrow and joked back. "Then how did you manage to get me?" "I didn't take any crooked shortcuts." She took 2 steps forward, glanced back. I competed fairly. At 10 in the evening, in the top-floor private suite of Star Convergence Plaza, a high-end private cocktail party was in full swing. The lights were dim and enchanting, and the guests were either wealthy or noble. I was holding a wine glass, having just finished speaking with several representatives from foreign banks, and was about to leave when I suddenly saw a familiar figure at the end of the hallway. Sophia Taylor. She was wearing a dress that didn't fit her well. Her makeup was immaculate but couldn't hide her fatigue. She was standing outside, waiting to be received by an investor. There was no hiding the nervousness and meekness in her eyes. She saw me and visibly flinched, then immediately lowered her head, not daring to meet my gaze. I didn't stop walking, treating her as if she were air. I strode straight past her. She suddenly looked up, her voice cautious. "Ethan." I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at her. She forced a smile. "I'm currently working at a financing company doing project screening. Today I was temporarily pulled into a company and attend." I did not respond, just looked at her quietly. Her eyes were full of hope. "Could you give me a chance? I want to start over, even if it means beginning as a low-ranking employee by your side." "Sophia Taylor," I said evenly, with no trace of fluctuation, "you once stood by my side, holding all the initiative. But you yourself dropped that key. I have already closed the door." She froze. "It's not that I'm not giving you a chance. It's that you don't deserve a second one." After I finished speaking, I turned and walked away. Nora Zhao stood in the corner on the other side. Seeing the scene, she said nothing and silently followed. The elevator doors opened. I went in, and she followed. An old flame. Once. Have you ever regretted it? I thought for 2 seconds and shook my head. No regrets. I should thank her for teaching me to see human nature clearly. She chuckled softly. "So, when do you plan to start your new life?" I turned to look at her, my gaze slightly intense. "Now." The elevator descended all the way down, and I suddenly remembered a few years ago when I had just started my business. Back then, I drove an old Honda, rushing through wind and rain, wearing myself out trying to land a contract. Sophia Taylor sat on the living room sofa, complaining that I wasn't considerate, not romantic, and not ambitious. Now, I stand on a footing of tens of billions in assets, with a global footprint, and she can never walk back into my world. Early morning, returning to the apartment, my assistant handed over a thick stack of invitation letters. Mr. Johnson, these are invitations from global top forums, high-end cocktail parties, and overseas investment bank networking events from the past month. Would you like me to screen them? I flipped through a few pages, then suddenly laughed. Turn them all down. All of them. Yes. I put the files down. Starting today, take a week off. The assistant was startled. Where are you going? Out for a spin. I walked to the balcony and watched the whole city unfold beneath my feet. Sophia Taylor once said that I wouldn't even accompany her when she went shopping. But now, the woman I'm with doesn't need me to go shopping with her. She can single-handedly secure an entire shopping mall. What I've always wanted was never to compromise for someone else, but for two people to stand side by side at the peak, with neither holding the other back. The next morning, Nora Zhao and I boarded a private jet bound for Iceland. The plane climbed, and sunlight pierced through the clouds. I closed my laptop, picked up the champagne, and leaned back in a chair. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Sophia Taylor. I'm sorry, I really understand now. I didn't reply, but she could wait no longer.